What if everything we've been told about the January 6th Commission is a lie? What if the Select Committee actually had nothing to do with the Capitol riots at all? What if the real reason for the congressional hearings were far more sinister, a reason that involves us all? Stick with me to the end of this video because that's exactly what we're going to find out. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you, your daily fake news antidote, helping you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. Before we dive into the real reason the left is obsessing over January 6th, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's Collagen, available at my special website, healthwithsteveturley.com. Many health experts now agree that taking collagen regularly can revitalize your body, can make your skin, bones, even your hair look and feel more healthy and youthful. And if you click on that link below right now, you're going to get 51% off your order. So don't wait. Click on that link below and get your own collagen supply today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. So January 6th, it's one of those, where were you when it happened events. I remember watching Trump giving his speech to hundreds of thousands of supporters gathered there at the nation's capital. I remember Mike Pence beginning the joint session to Congress, reading out the electors from Arizona, ironically, right, with the whole Maricopa audit going on. And they were immediately objected to by one representative, one senator. I believe it was Representative Louis Gohmert and Senator Ted Cruz. And so as a result, the joint session dissolved, and both the House and the Senate retired to the respective chambers to debate the objection. Then all of a sudden, there were these reports. There were these reports that a number of buildings were being evacuated on Capitol Hill, and that several hundred people in the Washington Mall began storming the Capitol building. Nearby office buildings for the staff of the House and the Senate, they were all ordered to evacuate, with police running up and down the hallways, ordering people to get out. The U.S. Capitol Police were using pepper spray and batons to repel the people outside. It descended into utter and total chaos. And then when the dust cleared, it was all over. All the objections to the electors disappeared. All the discussion, debate ended. And Congress as a whole came together and unanimously denounced what they and what most of the country believed to be a shameful disgrace, a mass mob rampaging the Capitol building. And I remember just feeling so absolutely and totally dejected. I mean, the whole thing, all the evidence that was going to get presented from November, it all just fell apart. It was a nightmare. President Trump's reputation was in tatters. It looked like the MAGA movement had imploded. I mean, it was horrifying stuff. But since then, miraculously, Trump and the MAGA movement have made an incredible and historic comeback of late. You'll definitely want to watch a video I did on how Trump today, in many respects, is stronger than ever, and how the MAGA movement is fast taking over the Republican Party. And that, my friends, might give us a bit of insight into why this January 6th Commission was formed in the first place. If you've been following the whole process in terms of its formation, you probably thought, none of this makes sense. First off, you've got all the absurd hyperbole surrounding the Capitol riot from the mainstream media. PolitiFact called the riots an armed insurrection. The FBI labeled the riots as domestic terrorists. Politico called it a coup attempt. Others are calling it an act of treason. And some argued that it was even worse than when the British burned the Capitol in 1814. But according to our federal courts, none of this is actually true. You may have heard about the sentencing last week of Paul Hodgkins. Now, Paul's a Florida crane operator who walked onto the Senate floor on January 6th carrying a Trump flag. Special Assistant U.S. Attorney Mona Sedke tried to make the argument in court that Hodgkins was a bona fide terrorist. But Hodgkins' lawyer argued instead that the Capitol building breach was a riot, not an act of terrorism. The court sided with Hodgkins and sentenced him to 8 months in prison, a sentencing that even the U.S. attorney agreed to. So how could someone responsible for a terrorist act akin to 9/11 only get 8 months in prison? But the absurdity of this congressional commission gets even worse. Why did Nancy Pelosi reject Republican leader Kevin McCarthy's picks for the Republicans that would sit on this congressional committee? Every single person on this committee voted to impeach President Trump for the January 6th riots, including the lone two Republicans that are on the committee, Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. They're the two most virulent anti-Trump Republicans in Congress. In fact, Liz Cheney was just ousted from her chairmanship leadership position over the House GOP conference precisely because of her rabid anti-Trumpism. How can a committee entirely composed of anti-Trump legislators, all of whom unilaterally declared Trump's guilt for January 6th, even hope to have a semblance of objectivity in determining what happened on that day? Obviously, the verdict has already been predetermined by both Congress and the mainstream media, and their obsessiveness in portraying January 6th as the worst day in American history. All of which raises the question, why is the left so obsessed over January 6th? Why are the Democrats and the mainstream media doing everything they possibly can to keep January 6th alive? The answer is simple and can be summed up in 3 words: the Biden disaster. That's it. The January 6th Commission is nothing more than an attempted cover-up for the colossal failings of Biden and the Democrats in the face of the impending midterms. Take a look around. What are going to be the defining issues for 2022? The worst outbreak of inflation in a quarter of a century. An unprecedented border crisis with millions of illegal immigrants pouring into the country. An unprecedented surge in violent crime waves across the nation. The injection of the most racist ideology imaginable in our nation's public schools. And on top of it all, a 4th wave of COVID and COVID restrictions. These and many other Democrat failings are guaranteed to be the defining issues of the 2022 midterms. But as Pat Buchanan has recently noted, not the Democrats and the mainstream Marxist media can convince you otherwise. And the only issue they have available to them to distract voters from the colossal failures of the left is January 6th. Same goes for rhinos and neocons like Liz Cheney. They believe that the only way they're going to survive their upcoming primaries is to convince their constituents that all pro-Trump Republicans are guaranteed to lose the midterms because of their association with January 6th. When all is said and done, the January 6th Commission is a giant admission by the political establishment that Biden and the Democrats and rhino Republicans have completely failed this nation. From inflation to the border, from crime to COVID, they're a disaster of epic proportions. And the only way they can hope to hold on to power is by exploiting our fears and insecurities, which means in the end that the anti-Trump Pelosi-led commission actually has nothing to do with January 6th at all. Now, before you go, you'll definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on Biden's and Harris's poll numbers imploding. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.